Questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Susie Nash, you heard her on the ad as we were coming into this half hour of the show. She is absolutely fantastic. You can catch her up at Archie's in Fort Pierce every Friday and Saturday from 5 to 8 and Sundays from 2 to 5. She's just released her new album. She was in the studio about a month ago now. But Archie Seabreeze, y'all know it. It's 401 South Ocean Drive in Fort Pierce. No shoes, no shirt, no problem. Definitely check her out. Lots of fun. So that second half of the show today, I'm really anxious to have this show and excited to hear about it. Here on the Treasure Coast in particular, we are so unfortunately aware of toxic algae and polluted waters as we are dealing right now with our Lake Okeechobee discharges. They just recently slowed them down because the weather's been drier than expected, which is a very good thing, but already our water is chocolate brown, the salinity's low, and we seem to go through this every time it's a rainy season, and it's been a repeat issue. It's okay. It's been just a repeat issue year after year after year. We had toxic algae outbreaks in 2016 and 2018, the most recent ones, and they were just devastating. If you all remember, we've had people get sick and hospitalized. We definitely had dogs die from just drinking the water. So this is really a serious issue, and I wanted to do this show today because we have some gentlemen that have what they believe is a help and a solution, and I think it's important that we evaluate all these different solutions and help. I mean, anything that can help clean up our water is a good thing, in my opinion. So they're going to be talking about something called biochar, and they're going to be tuning in here in just 1 second. But it's just absolutely something that we need to address here locally. And I had some pictures on my Facebook page. It showed some of the toxic green algae. For folks that are new to the area, I know you probably haven't experienced it, and it's hard to understand until you do experience it, but the smell is so bad, it gets to your lungs. You hardly can breathe the air. I mean, you immediately feel sick. And right now, even with our water chocolate brown, folks are thinking it's just runoff and tannin. And it's not. It's from these discharges. So those are all things that we're going to be talking about here very shortly. You can tune in here, WSTU AM 1450. You can call into the show, 220-9788, 220-WSTU if you have any questions or comments. Or I'll be watching here on Facebook Live and looking for your questions or comments for the gentlemen as soon as we get them connected. I want to also make sure to thank my wonderful, wonderful sponsors. I have Attention the Boaters, Indiantown Marina. If you're looking for a safe harbor during hurricane season, and boy, I'll tell you what, folks, they are talking about a really bad hurricane season this year. They say it every year, but they really are worried that this could be one of the worst. And if you need safe harbor, folks, call now. Get your space reserved, because once a hurricane is named, I can pretty much tell you, you will not find a safe place for your hurricane storage in this town for your boat. So it's a top-notch boat yard, very safe. It's inland on the Okeechobee Waterway, and those good folks will be able to get your boat out of the water and keep it in safe harborage. It's very well protected, and they have a full array of boat services while you're there. It's a do-it-yourself, or they have mechanics there to help you out either way. And it's a fantastic boatyard, which you can reach at 772-597-2455, 597-2455, or visit IndiantownMarina.com. One thing to realize with Indiantown Marina is that they offer storages that go by the length of the boat that's stated, so they don't measure it overall. Other people will add on if your anchor sticks out, or if you have a swim platform or something, they add every little inch to your rates. Not at Indiantown Marina. They take what the boat's stated length overall is. And also, don't forget about stepping into the world of small balance corporate finance with Commercial Mortgage. Since 2003, they've been passionately tackling equity, new debt solutions, challenging corporate foreclosures, and debt restructures. Plus, here's the best part. Commercial Mortgage never charges a front fee, and consultations are always free. FREE free. The team of experts excels in a variety of areas, from hotels and marinas to office buildings, restaurants, apartments, multifamily, condos, golf courses, home builders, and land development. No matter your project, we've got you covered. secured, whether it's new or repurposed development. Ready to take the next step? Call Commercial Mortgage LLC at 561-310-5295 or visit them online, commercialmortgagellc.com. Remember, that is your free consultation. So we have a lot of things that are going on right now. I want to let everybody know I have another Meet Your Candidate coming in next week. It's Bruce Nathan. He ran a few years ago, and he's running again for District 5 Commissioner, and we're going to be having all the candidates in through the studio coming up. It's a wonderful way to get to know them and have a little bit of information as to why they're running for office. So we'll be getting that here shortly. So, with no further ado, I want to really get into this show where we're talking about, again, our water issues, which is the lifeblood of our community. And what I have here, a couple guests from Biochar Now. Biochar Now is a pioneer in the biochar industry with strong engineering, manufacturing, sales, and administrative personnel focused on making and selling quality biochar on a very large scale. I have James Gaspard. He is the founder and CEO of Biochar Now, LLC. He graduated in 1996 from the University of Texas with the JD MBA and honors. His varied career in startups, mid-sized and large companies gives him a unique perspective on all aspects of companies' life cycle, from birth through growth and harvest. Also on the line joining us by Zoom is Shane Snavely. He is a repeat guest, and you'll remember he's a service-connected Army veteran. He's been a state and federal government contractor for many years, and Shane has started and run many businesses over the last 30 years. He joins us today to discuss building a coalition of support for the biochar project. Biochar Now was incorporated in 2011 with three primary goals in mind: understanding biochar's beneficial properties and potential markets, understand how to consistently make quality biochar at a very large scale, and meet the EPA's emissions and standards. So I'd like to start with you, James. It's good to have you on the line, and tell us a little bit more about biochar. While we were getting you hooked up, I was reminding folks that are new to our area about the toxic algae and the discharges we have. There's a lot of phosphorus and nitrogens in the water, so very interested to hear about Biochar Now and what it can do for our waters.
Yeah, I appreciate the invitation, Casey, to speak with you on this topic and your audience. What Biochar Now does is we take waste wood, dead trees and stuff, and we convert it into pure carbon in a unique manner that gives us unique properties. And some of those properties are that we can bind phosphorus and nitrate. So we're used quite a bit in the water remediation arena, and especially in lake cleanups and stuff where the phosphorus and the nitrates are really heavy. And we have a passive filter system. And in Florida, we're really starting to kick off in Florida with projects. We have a sales group down there we work with, a company called EcoSense. They've taken our product, they renamed it Nutrigon in that part of the world, and they're doing sites, like building the infrastructure. In fact, this morning they were just awarded another project in Plant City. So what they'll do is basically build in-place filters, that take semis of material, and as the water flows through, we remove the nutrients out of the creeks and the canals and stuff. But in other states, we've gone a lot larger scale and starting to remove. We put passive filters in the lakes, and then we remove them. So, like this week, we actually got orders to clean up the largest lake in New Jersey. So we're going all around the country doing this, and it's a unique product. We have patents on how to make it, and we're just looking forward to helping Florida, and clean up their issues in a very cost-effective manner. I mean, that's the whole key here. We cost a small fraction of any other technologies, so you can actually clean up the problem instead of kicking the problem down the road.
James, I want to talk about all of that a little bit more, especially the size, because, we're talking about the St. Lucie River. We're talking about Lake Okeechobee, one of the largest lakes in the world.
Yes.
And they discharge and the water ends up in the ocean. So as far as mass, there's a lot of water issues here. But before we do, I'd like to go back from your website, biocharnow.com. You have a series of slides that describes how it works. So I'd like you to go through through that for my listeners and those that are watching on
Okay.
Facebook. Listeners on the radio, you can go to my YouTube channel, The Casey Ingram Show, and you're able to see this on YouTube. It'll be uploaded within 24 hours of this show. So, James, we'll be sliding the slides through as you talk about them, but if you'd go through and just tell us how this works.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. First, we make the carbon itself, in, like I say, in a very unique manner. And then we put it in flow through bags, flow through filters. And what we can do with those filters, we then place those filters into the water body. And the movement of the water, whether if it's in a lake with just the wind currents, or we can hang them off docks, we can hang them from buoys. There's any way, just get it into the water. As the water comes in contact with the carbon, we bind the phosphorus and the nitrates, the phosphates and nitrates, so that we don't, we're not a filter in the sense that we filter the algae. We basically remove all the nutrients, which causes the algae to go away, because the whole concept is, you're taking the nutrients out of the water. And then we remove those socks and those filters, and we can go resell that carbon into the landscaping industry, because now that carbon's loaded with nutrients, and then we replace it. So it becomes a cycle, and the cycle is very, very cost effective. Basically, you can recover your cost of the carbon from carbon credits, regenerative authentication credits, and the resale of the carbon. So it's a simple concept, but our carbon's what makes it work. So that's in very quick nutshell, that's how we do it. We can do at massive scale, because you just put more filters in a large water body like Lake Okeechobee. It would take a lot of filters, but the concept is that it's a profitable venture among itself when you resell the carbon and you count the carbon credits. And they just came out recently with something called regenerative authentication credits, which is basically water quality credits. And we're the only company so far that qualifies for those credits, and we started selling those in the marketplace last week. So with this current administration, there's just a lot of different incentives and credits for corporations to get involved.
James, tell me a little bit more about that. I was watching one of your presentations, and there's a lot of companies that say they're selling biochar, but your company is a little bit different in that you have some approvals and patents, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so we have like 17 patents. In fact, we actually have a patent on this exact use of the carbon. What happens is the carbon is made from a flash process normally, which basically keeps it at conversion temperature for like a minute or a couple of minutes. What we've done is we basically we make it from waste wood, and we keep the wood at temperature for up to 10 hours in a vacuum at the same conversion temperature. So we end up with a lot purer carbon. In fact, it's a graphene type structure, and we actually sell to the graphene battery industry. But what we do during this process, we impart upon the carbon properties that allows it to bind the nitrates and phosphates extremely effectively. And so we backed into this market because of the water quality issues. We work with utilities on the back end of water treatment plants for sewage plants and stuff like that. But the concept is we got to pull it out of the environment. Like Lake Okeechobee, I believe I saw some data, and I'm sure it's old and there's a lot more, but there was over 60,000 tons of phosphorus in the sediment of Lake Okeechobee. You're never going to get that lake to do anything until you remove that phosphorus. And when we put the filters in the water and it binds, then we remove the filters, and we've literally removed it from the ecosystem. And then we go move that into another customer, and it helps pay for everything. So
James,
other treatments, they just knock the nutrients down, out of the water column.
That's good to know, and thank you very much. And you touched on something that I wanted to go in greater detail, and that is the legacy muck. There's a lot in Lake Okeechobee. There's a lot in the St. Lucie River because of the discharges carry the muck, and where we used to have a sandy bottom is now muck filled with this phosphorus and nitrogen. And we actually have
got to come out. And dredging's not the answer.
Dredging's not the answer. But these your biochar bags will pull that out of the muck?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, there's... Yes, the lakes we go into, we clear the water, and then it gets cloudy again. So the people are curious why it's getting cloudy. Well, if you're measuring the muck remineralize back into the water, and it goes through a clear, cloudy cycle. And as an example, there was a lake we treated here in Colorado. They measured the muck. We were measuring that, and we were removing 14 inches of muck annually. That was just basically as we cleared the nutrients out of the water, the muck was just remineralizing. And so it sort of just reverses the whole process, which took decades to create to begin with. So we were able to clean up a lake that had drained a dairy for 40 years. We cleaned it up in like 2 years, the muck included.
That is
It through a
fantastic.
passive process.
So let me go back to Lake Okeechobee because that's kind of where our problems start here. We have a lot of water that comes down through the Kissimmee River from the north. It discharges to the Caloosahatchee to the west, to St. Lucie River here to the east, and then, of course, it heads to the south towards the Everglades. And there's some storm treatment areas that are to the south of the lake to help try and clean the
Yes.
water before it goes into the Everglades. But how would your system work? Because this lake is so huge. Do you put the bags at the entrances, at the exits, or just how do you choose where you're putting these bags? And let's take
Well,
Lake Okeechobee. How many bags would that
oh,
need?
it would take millions of bags, but the thing of it is that you put it out of the way, and you can sink them to where the boats don't run over them and stuff. And you just put them out and take them back in with a winch, like off of a pontoon boat. It's not a super sophisticated technology. It's just the way the carbon works is sophisticated. But the first thing you would do is, you would basically put it in where the tributaries are coming in, out of the way of the boats, but where you stop the inflow of the nutrients. And you can also go up and put it into the leach fields and the septics, and put it at a filter at the end of a cesspool pipe or whatever to stop the inflows. And and then like in Iowa, we're working in tile systems. Same thing would be in Florida, where the fields are draining into the creeks. You put the socks there or the filters there to stop the inflow. But then you got to remove the muck. So you would basically put a bunch of socks into the lake itself and pull down that over time. But once you stop the inflows, the lake will also flush itself somewhat. But the muck has to remineralize. It has to come out naturally, same path it went in.
I think that's fantastic that it can pull the muck out because that's such a big issue for us. We have an organization called Orca that has a Kilroy system in the whole Indian River Lagoon, and they're real time. You can go onto their website at any time, and you can look to see what the salinity of the water is, the nitrogen, the
Yeah.
phosphorus. And right now we're starting to deal with toxic blue green algae from the
Yes.
discharges this year. So with that, it's good information, and it might be places to know where to put the socks. But there's a lot of current with the St. Lucie River. You've talked
Yes,
about
ma'am.
lakes, but what about something like this that has such a heavy current going back and forth from ocean tides?
Yeah, no, in fact, in San Diego, we're in a inland bay there with the salt water, and we're pulling the nutrients out there because of the tourists coming into that area. So salt water, fresh water, it doesn't matter. Also, we bind chloroform or the E. coli and stuff. So a lot of the stuff coming down the river from the septics and the cesspool, we can bind the E. coli as well. It's just we're sort of non-discriminatory. We're going to bind whatever's in the water. It just so happens, the hot issue is the phosphorus and the nitrates, but we'll also bind any chemicals uh, that finds itself in the water, the E. coli, coliform. We even bind things, the heavy metals. We even bind radionuclides. So we're using a lot of different manners, but the issue is that the nutrients. You got to take them out of the system, but you also got to stop it where it's coming in which we do that as well. And then, as I said, that company EcoSense that works with our product in Florida, we're already approved in the state in Florida to go into the water in Florida. It's just been used in these stationary filters into the landscape, and we're just wanting to expand more into large areas. In fact, we're the only organic, non-toxic carbon that's been approved for use to remove nutrients from the water in Florida. Which this EcoSense was able to achieve that. So, and
That's
then
huge. You're the only one that's
even
approved. James, I have a caller, Jackie Thurlippis. She's a former South Florida Water Management District board member, and she is somebody in this area that uh, kind of she's kind of the protector of our lake system. And I know she's
Yes.
probably telling me, Casey, stop saying all that, but it's so true. She's brought so much awareness to the issues going on. Her and her husband have documented it with their airplane flying over the river and the lake, documenting the destruction that occurs. So Jackie's just calling in. And Jackie, it's good to hear from you. And you're such an important leader here in the area. What do you think about this biochar?
Hi. Can you hear me
We
okay, I
can.
hope?
We can.
That's great. First of all, just to let you know, I'm on Finito, which is a boat my husband and I are on. We're presently close to Savannah, Georgia, close to the Savannah River. We are on a journey to learn more about water issues in America. And I think that biocharge is probably one of the top things that could help. I was able to learn a lot about that along my journey, and I just want to encourage continuation of such studies. And it's a natural way, and that's the way to go. Thank you.
Jackie, thank you so much for calling in. That really means a lot. And James, that's something that your company, I was going to ask, Jackie just touched on it. A few years ago, somebody had a technology that was cleaning the toxic algae out of the water, but the problem was it made the water dead. It killed everything, good and
Yes.
bad. Do you have any negative effects like that with biochar, or is it only attracting the bad nutrients?
Okay, I can only speak about our carbon, okay,
Okay.
because there's a lot of people out there selling snake oil, but but we there's no bad effects. That's why we're the only one approved that's sort of non-toxic and stuff. In fact, we're actually used in fish food out in other countries in South America. If the animal eats it, we actually clean their system out as well.
Wow.
But in Ecuador, we're cleaning fish farms and going into the fish food. Um, so we're approved as an animal feed additive in the U.S. for other, livestock. So, so there's nothing harmful. I mean, all we're trying to do is get things back to nature's level. I mean, we're never going to remove 100%. Okay. Please don't misread. Okay. You basically want to get it to where the water's clear and then the grass starts growing where your manatees can eat again. And, you want to get the water clear like it was before the Europeans came along, but you're never going to take everything out. You don't want to take everything out, but you sure just want to get that muck out, let it remineralize and stuff and get back to natural levels. That's all we're trying to do is clean the mess because we're not going population is going to increase. You just need to clean the mess we left behind and get it back to more natural levels where the system takes care of itself.
James, that's another big issue that you just touched on, and that our seagrasses have died. There's a lot of like glyphosate in the water, so this
Yeah, we
biochar.
bind glyphosate. Like I say, we're non-discriminatory. We're going to bind glyphosate. We're going to bind pesticides. We're going to bind everything. I mean, I'm dealing right now in Iowa. To give you an idea, just the state of Iowa, the runoff into the rivers there causes 56% of the pollution goes down to Mississippi. So we're working there with that's where these water quality credits originated. We're in Iowa, but they can trade them nationwide, and anything we originate in Florida, they can trade those as well. But these issues are all over, and but we bind anything. We bind the pesticides, we bind the glyphosate, we bind chemicals from chemical runoff. We work closely with the oil and gas industry. We bind a lot of we work with them on remediation. We're actually using Superfund sites. It just so happens that one of the things we do is we bind 99% of the phosphate we come in contact with, and no other carbon does that in
That
this raw state.
that is incredible, folks. If you have a question or comment for James or Shane with biochar now, 772-220 WSTU 220-9788. I'm also watching my Facebook Live comments if you have a question or comment. This is actually very exciting technology, and um,
And the beautiful thing about it, KC, is so cost effective.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
my question for you. This sounds like a lot. Tell us about that.
well, we actually, what we're trying to do currently in Florida, they're buying the product, putting it in landscaping, for like they build a big filter that the water has to flow over. But what we'd like to do is go more to a success model. So, like, we just basically say, we'll clean this lake for less than 1/10 of what any other technology will do. And when we get it clean, you pay us, because the problem's immense. I mean, I know when Bush, baby Bush, or just Bush Jr. was president, they passed $4 billion for Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
And we could clean a body of water like that for a small fraction of that number. But and we also can give jobs. It's not like you have to sacrifice jobs, because I know people want to spend money on these big infrastructure projects for jobs and things like that. But we can hire all the locals to put the filters out and bring them back in, and
Oh,
because of the carbon credits we earn, the water quality credits, and reselling of the carbon in other industries, it just causes us to be able to do it for less than 10% of other technologies.
the water here, as it is in many areas, but it definitely is here. It is our lifeblood, and we have so many fishermen that I know would just hop on board to try and help out with this, and it's very exciting for us. And jobs are not our concern. Our concern is having clean water,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
no, I
just
understand.
yeah,
Plus,
it's destroying
the
our area. It's
the limestone, the way the bedrock, or whatever you want to call it, is underneath Florida, is the pollution in one area is easily moved to another area. So even if you think your water is clean locally, it's not. And I mean, if somebody, if you get a massive bloom one area, it'll just move to the next area, through the limestone and into the water
and we
columns.
we do get those huge blooms. We have a lot of runoff here in septics, and there's a lot of things that contribute to it. But it really starts out with the
You're not going to get
discharges.
the people to let their lawns die, so they're going to keep fertilizing their lawns, so we can
They
just
do.
pull
You,
it out.
you can pass as much ordinance as you want. It's pretty tough to enforce it. So that's fantastic to think about the different areas that you can apply this technology. And as we're talking as well, I want to state that our area here in Florida, we're unique right here in the Stewart Martin County area. We have
Yes.
one of the highest incidents in the country, but the highest in Florida of non-alcohol related liver disease. And those areas, it was studied by the Ohio State University, that occurs in areas where there's toxic blue-green algae.
Yes, ma'am.
So, these are things that are real to us, and we've done studies where you don't even have to be on the water to have blue
Yeah,
green algae
it's in the
ingested
air.
through. Right. So let's talk about some of your bigger projects that you've done, so people understand. I know you've kind of covered some of them, but give us what's the largest projects you've worked on, and has there been an
Well,
outcome, or how many years does it take?
okay. Well, it took, like, we just got an order this week for filters to go into the largest lake in New Jersey. It's tens of thousands of acres lake. Now they tested for years. Okay, it went through the long process there, but so that's the largest lake to date. But I mean, that's the largest lake in New Jersey, and I believe the largest lake in New England. We're working right now currently with this new pricing model on some very large projects in Ohio, where, like, this one lake, they spent $30 million trying to clean it up. It's worse now than when they started. We just basically said, look, if you give us, single digit millions and pay us after it's clean, would you be open to that? And of course they are. So those are the power of our models. We're also in the state of Michigan. One of our, we work one of our customers works closely with the state of Michigan. We've done dozens of lakes there. We're building thousands of these filters weekly just for the state of Michigan, and because there's like 10,000 HOA lakes. I mean, we can do the big lakes, but also your little local HOA, you want it clean. You don't want it's getting to the point where some of these lakes, if you go jogging around the lake, your dog drinks out of the water and all of a sudden you lose your dog. So, and even in Michigan, there's like 10,000 HOA lakes. So you
Right,
look
right.
around this country, it's massive. We're working with a large fertilizer company. We're going to be working in Iowa to help remediate issues, and they'll be working alongside us there. I mean, people know there's a problem, and we're doing everything we can to fix it. It's just I'm a capitalist, right? So nothing's moving quick enough for me. So we can always be quicker.
Right. I was just
But
going to.
we've been doing testing for like 15 years. It's not like this is an overnight thing with our company.
I want to skip over Shane Snavely. You have been with us the entire half hour here, and I wanted to talk with you shortly. We're running out of time. I know I could talk about this topic for hours and hours. So we might have to do another show. But Shane, what's the next step here in Florida? I mean, I just have so many people that I think you guys should be talking to. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What I was, some of the things that James, there's some other things that we go along with this that he's.
Yeah, we're losing you, Shane. I'm sorry. You froze up a little bit. So
he's talking about the lake cleanup, but another at the runoff in the entrances. But another big industry with this is for the agriculture. You know, you and I have talked a couple of years ago when we were dealing with some congressional stuff and talked to the sugar industry. They're getting blamed for a lot of the runoff. You got the agriculture industry getting blamed. You've got,
right.
The
Shane, you're breaking up a lot, but I think I know where you're going.
Industry.
Yes, Shane,
it absorbs this stuff before it ever hits the rivers and the lakes. And what we need there, we have I think we have the momentum there to get a lot of people involved and make this a movement to where we start, pushing this and let's give this a try and see what happens. And I just think it would be a very beneficial thing for everybody. And I think we're making a difference. Then you have it from ever even going back into the lake.
Yes, Shane, you're breaking up a little bit, so I'm going to go back to James. There are a lot of players down here, and helping to clean water, that's something that the agriculture community does and needs to do, is make sure it's clean before it goes back into the Everglades. There are a lot of players here, and this is a lot of tentacles for your company in a lot of different areas to reach out to.
And I think this is a topic that both sides can get behind because with the current administration, of course, all the incentives there. And for every ton of product we make, we sequester 3.2 tons of carbon dioxide out of the air, and then we pull the nutrients out. So trust me, the half the country loves what we do. The other half, we're so cost effective, that basically they should jump on board for that. We don't need government grants.
That's fantastic.
In fact, I avoid government grants like the plague, because if you can't stand on your feet without a government grant, you don't deserve. Whether I don't know. I have my own philosophy there.
Amen.
We're trying to build something long lasting here, and you can't just depend on a budget every year from the government as to whether or not you're going to survive. So that's why we created this whole cascading model. Now, I'm still a capitalist. If somebody wants to pay me for my carbon credits, God bless them. Somebody wants to pay me for my water quality credits, great. But the whole concept is you put the carbon out, you pull it back out of the lake. It's actually more valuable when you pull it back out to resell than it was when it went in, because now it's loaded with nutrients that people will pay good money for.
That's the wonderful part, is it's recyclable. James, we have about a little less than 4 minutes left. I want you to cover one other thing. You've covered it through the show, but I think it's absolutely important that we talk about it one more time clearly. Why your company? There's a lot of biochar companies out there. Why yours?
Well, because we make a very unique product. We make it in a unique manner. As I said, if you're comparing, so people make some of the carbon like in a flash process. It takes a minute or so. We use the same temperature to convert our carbon into our carbon, but we hold it for like 10 hours. So all of a sudden we're making a pure carbon that literally becomes a graphene structure. And as I said, we sell to graphene battery companies as a feedstock and stuff. So we're a pure carbon, and we impart upon the carbon special properties during our process that allow us to bind phosphates and nitrates and things that other carbons, if they don't bind in the raw state, they dope their carbon to try to get it to do something. But ours, as it comes out of our process, is pure. We're the only one approved by the EPA because we're the only one that can basically state we're inert. We have nothing in our carbon. So we're approved under Toxic Substance Control Act. We're the only carbon. So in theory, you shouldn't be putting a lot of other stuff in the water. We're approved by the state of Florida. We're the only non-toxic carbon approved by the state of Florida for this use.
That's really important to know. This is absolutely fantastic. Again, folks, if you want to learn more, it's biocharnow.com. And, Shane, I know that you in particular have been here to Florida quite a bit. And I think both of you are probably going to be making some more visits here into the area for people to learn more about your product. And I think it's going to be exciting for us here locally to have some sort of solution to the toxic algae discharges that we've had. And we'll make sure this show is shared.
Yep, and I think as you and I have talked offline, I think now is the time to get all the people that have been working on this and worried about this for years. There's so many people that have done studies. They've advocates for the cleanup, and I think if we get these people together and start doing some events and get a coalition down there, I think it would be very helpful. And I think we'll get. I think the people like the Sugar Industry Association. I think a lot of these people will jump on board with this.
100%. How quickly could you ramp up to speed if we get all our parties here together and say we want to do this?
We're actually in process of locating manufacturing facilities in Florida currently, but no, we're ramping up extensively nationwide as we speak. I mean, we can provide the product. We're just opened sites in North Carolina and Colorado and Virginia and in Texas, and we're moving into Florida.
And I would add, JC, I would
seconds.
add that maybe it's about time that the people in that district start pushing Congressman Mask to get on board with some of this stuff too.
100%. We gotta leave James Gaspard, Shane Stavely, Biochar now, folks. Give me a message if you want to hear some more information from these guys, because this is exciting. This is actually a solution that we need here in this area. Thanks so much, guys.